And the Triple C podcast is back. Chronic Combat Conversations is here to cover the electric pay-per-view UFC 262, Charles Oliveira taking on Bellator's once champion Michael Chandler. This fight has been giving me agita all week long. I've been going back and forth. I think I'm firmly on his side now, but weigh-ins could still scare me off. You know how I feel about weigh-ins. The rest of the card's actually pretty good, even though we lost a couple really good fights in Nate Diaz and Leon Edwards and the Shabazian Hermanson fight. But honestly, the card's still pretty exciting to me. How do you feel?
Oh man, I've been waiting a little bit for this one. I feel like we got a couple really good fights taken away. There's still a couple good spots here. Combing through the lines and looking at the matchups. I think we're in for an exciting night.
The month of May was really tough for losing fights. I had told you separately that I thought we were going to lose the Corey Sandhagen fight, but we ended up losing that. And I'm hoping for next week we're still okay with Cody Garbrandt, because I feel like he can never make it to the cage. But all that being said, 262 here right now. I can't wait. Tony Ferguson, El Kukui, Benil Daryush, been an absolute wrecking ball. Can't wait for that. There's a few bangers on this one, man. I can't wait to dive into it.
Well, why should we waste any time? Let's dive right in, like you said. Kicking us off, we got Christos Giagos versus Sean Soriano making his return to the octagon. 0-3 in his initial stint in the octagon, but after 2 submission losses and a decision loss, he went back on the regional scene, and now Soriano's making his return after training at Sanford MMA with Michael Chandler to get ready for the
By the way, that was a while ago. Those 3 UFC fights were January 2014, September 2014, and January of 2015. So this is a big-time return.
Yeah, and you see the names that Soriano was matched up against, Rosa and Skelly.
Yeah, who are both still in the UFC at this point in time. So, credit in terms of that. They gave him, tough matchups.
Definitely. So Christos Giagos, he comes in 4-4 in his UFC career. Submission win, 3 decision wins, 2 submission losses, 2 decision losses. So he's been pretty spread out as far as how he attacks his fights. But one thing's for sure, there's probably not going to be a real knockout or anything. And, Soriano, it's tough to say what kind of developments he's made. So I don't really feel comfortable really betting this fight. However, seeing Giagos sitting there as a minus 225 and Soriano as a plus 176, it's probably fair, but it's not a line that I'm going to play just because of the variability and Giagos' poor gas tank. So even if he does fight really well, everything could fall apart.
Yeah, I agree completely. There's not really anything I saw here that makes me want to bet anything.
Yeah.
So I lean Giagos. If you placed a gun to my head and made me just bet a prop pretty blindly, I would just say Giagos by decision, because I don't think he'll get the finish. I don't know. That's it. Random thoughts.
Yeah.
Wait till weigh-ins. Let's see how they look. Somebody misses weight by a crazy amount. I don't know. Looks terrible.
Yeah, maybe the gambling junkie itch, takes over. You have to throw him in a crazy parlay or something happens. Can't harm you for that, but please don't spend a lot of money.
I'm not getting my itch like I usually do sometimes. That that the first fight is going to be a one that they expect to have an explosive start. I don't actually see it this card.
Yeah, this fight was kind of thrown together last second, and I think they just wanted to make sure they still had their opening fight. So let's get on to our next one. Kevin Aguilar versus Tucker Lutz. And this is a situation very similar to one we saw with Random Marcos, and maybe I was wrong on that, but we didn't really get to see the fight fully play out. Anyways, Kevin Aguilar, 17-4, Tucker Lutz, 11-1. He had 2 Contender Series fights, Tucker Lutz, this past year, and both went to decision, and both were against very inexperienced guys. Lutz didn't necessarily stand out to me on tape, and Aguilar, he has some big names on his resume. He also has Charles Rosa as a loss, a split decision. Zubaira Tukhugov, round one knockout. Dan Ige, unanimous decision. Leonard Garcia, round one knockout in LFC back in 2013. But those are a lot of good names that he's faced. And then Damon Jackson is a win. Tony Kelly is a win, both before the UFC. And then Glenn and Barzola. Those are some solid
So
names.
I finally remembered what this fight actually reminds me of. What this fight actually reminds me of is Bruno Silva and JP Buys. That's what this fight reminds me of. That's the perfect one.
And isn't it
Everybody,
appropriate that actually JP and Tucker Lutz fought on the same Dana White Contender Series episode?
that's interesting. Um, JP Buys was the heavy favorite for coming in his debut, even though he looked okay on his Contender Series fight. Sound familiar? I could be talking about Tucker Lutz right now. Kevin Aguilar is similar to Bruno Silva in the fact that their backs up are against the wall. They had lost the last three of their fights to tough competition. Dan Ige, Tukugov, Rosa, split decision there. Tough fights against notable guys. I don't know. At a dog price, again, barring something crazy in weigh-ins, I'm on Kevin Aguilar. Not like with the house or anything, but I'd make a small play on this because I think the line, I don't think the line makes any sense because Tucker Lutz has done absolutely nothing to warrant being this big of a favorite. So it's an auto fade. It's that simple. I don't see a huge, and maybe I could be wrong on this because I'm not the most technical guy, but some major technical hole that would cause some big exposure on really either side. So
Yeah, I think Lutz is solid. I just don't see anything that really flashes as high level. I think he generally is comfortable wherever the fight takes place, but he's not beyond, being manhandled a little bit or, being on the back foot with his striking if his combinations don't land walking forward. Aguilar, I think
yeah,
he just has a lot more experience. I definitely
we
agree.
saw him getting. I guess he got knocked out in his first ever professional fight, Tucker Lutz. So that's not a great sign. And like we said, Aguilar's lost his last three fights, and losing to Hugov, who's not necessarily known for his knockout power by knockout, is tough. But Tukugov is a great athlete, so yeah, I don't know, stay away or it's dog or pass.
Yeah, it's simply I will be placing a bet on Aguilar. Probably not my biggest bet of the night, but a minus 103 and Lutz at minus 122. Might have to do it sooner than later, especially, hey, we'll see how weigh-ins go for the debutant.
100%. I was just about to say, like, weigh-ins really can shift so much. I feel like that's sometimes a weird way to bet, but especially with lower level MMA, it's important to see. Like, if you want to play a bet. Oh my God, just cut all that. Next fight.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess that wraps that up. Sounds like we're both on Aguilar there. So to get to our next one, another fight that the line might not make too much sense. We see our second biggest line of the night here. Gina Mazzani minus 200 versus Priscilla Cachoeira plus 155. Cachoeira made her debut against, who else but Shevchenko coming in at.
I don't know who put that fight together. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I guess they were just slapping together the division at first, just bringing in all sorts of names. But to me, it doesn't really make sense that we would see Cachoeira as such a big underdog. However, recency bias comes into play here, and you see that Ostovich, really got dominated by Mazzani. And Cachoeira has not really had, the best of outings besides her, absolute demolition of Shana Dobson in her last fight. So, now 1-3 in the UFC. Maybe that can spurn a little bit of momentum. Mazzani will have a little bit of a reach advantage, 3.5 inches. But Cachoeira is going to be the one that I think could put together a little bit of forward pressure and make her uncomfortable with the combinations and power. I don't think that Glory MMA fixes all.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think I fully agree, to be quite honest. I Cachoeira is called the zombie girl for a reason, right? Because she's gotten that nickname throughout the UFC. It's just kind of the way that she fights. She just continues to walk forward, and I don't know that she's necessarily high enough output. Um, the way in which that she got beaten by Luana Carolina and Molly McCann really doesn't give you much of a I don't know, much to really bank on here. And I understand chasing a dog here. I just think that Mazzani will come in the better shape, will have more output, and can grind out Priscilla. And I actually do think that maybe I am playing a little too far into it, which you're kind of possibly rightfully fading. But I am gonna go lean with the glory and James Krause actually being a really a consistently good thing, and one of the reasons why I am on Mazzani. I think that game plan really will help her here.
Oh, I don't blame you for taking Mazzani straight up. I guess all the reasons that I laid out were reasons why I'm not going to be betting this fight. Uh,
Oh no, I'm not
yeah,
betting the
no,
fight.
of course, of
Oh no,
course.
I'm not, and I don't think it's a parlay piece. Like,
I just didn't want to get it
yeah,
misconstrued that I really think that Cachoeira is going to walk away with a convincing victory or get a knockout or anything like that.
we all do circles, so that's some of our picks, our straight up picks.
Yeah,
So,
but
I'll be circling Mazzani pretty comfortably. I just don't want to be placing any bets. If I had to place a bet, for the degenerates out there, I like Mazzani by decision. Mazzani by decision plus 100 is fine, and I think that's just how the fight goes.
yeah, if you want to get crazy, Cachoeira by knockout plus 650, just given how
Yeah,
that.
6-1, and she's like a
Yeah,
knockout
and the Avila
special.
fight
So
really was not a good look for Mazzani. So if you could really start putting on the forward pressure and just start throwing and getting into it, hey, maybe you could cash on a 6-1. But I'm not recommending a big bet or anything crazy there.
yeah, and to Mazzani's credit, right? Is this only her second fight with Glory? Was the Ostovich fight her first one?
That's correct.
So like football or other sports, right? Like when you work with a coach, supposedly as time goes on, you're supposed to get into more of a groove and get better together. So maybe I think in a second fight it could be even a bigger improvement.
That certainly makes sense. Sounds like we're in a bit of an agreement here. So
Yeah,
let's
it's a little a little construing, a little guessing, but no, again, like I said, nothing that I want to bet the rent on.
yeah. So we move along to our next fight. Andrea Lee versus
Yes.
Antonina Shevchenko, obviously sister of Valentina. So we have Andrea Lee came in as this highly touted prospect, wins her first three fights, um, all by decision, then proceeds to lose her next three, all by decision. A couple splits in there. We had a unanimous decision loss to Roxanne Modafferi. Thank you, Roxanne. Uh, Always a fan favorite. And Shevchenko, someone that I faded in her last fight and came out with one of the most impressive improvements on the ground and just absolutely dominating Ariane Lipski. So, talking about improvements, losing so badly to Chukagian, getting controlled for a better part of, I would say, about 10 minutes in that fight. Shevchenko.
So
So,
so you're actually starting to touch on something that I want to touch on for for my handicap of this fight. You're she's handled, but Shevchenko's handled by Chukagian. What's Chukagian primarily? She's a striker, loves to strike. She loves to strike. um, she had 3 takedowns in that fight, and you know, and 2 minutes of control time, which again is not really her thing. Then you look at Modafferi. Modafferi had 5 takedowns against her. Obviously, Modafferi's grappler, loves to take people down. So we've seen that when Shevchenko gets put on her back, she doesn't get up. And Andrea Lee, while she's lost her last three, um, not minding the Roxanne Modafferi fight, which was a damn close fight, which she could have won, but outstruck her 97-60. But and Andrea Lee, mind you, gets 3 takedowns, but gets taken down 4 times. And then tough fights with Lauren Murphy and Joanne Calderwood, who are, at this point in time, at the top of the division, in terms of possible contenders, in a relatively light division. You could argue that the Calderwood fight was a robbery. Well, not a robbery, but like a just that they got the decision wrong. That Andrea Lee could have. I mixed that fight up. I meant with the Lauren Murphy fight, right?
Yeah,
because that fight was much closer than the Joanne Calderwood fight. But either way, she took in the Calderwood fight. She took down Calderwood 3 times. That's pretty impressive. So when you see her ability to actually implement that, and that she's going to throw lots of strikes. She threw 100 strikes versus Ashley Evans Smith, threw 100 strikes versus Lauren Murphy, 97 versus Modafferi. I think she's going to outstrike Shevchenko too. Is that crazy?
That could be a little bit crazy. So I will say Andrea Lee definitely is high output, throws a lot of leg kicks. Shevchenko, a little bit more, even though she is a kickboxer at heart, definitely a little bit more of a boxer as far as the types of strikes that she's throwing. Andrea Lee is going to have a little bit of a reach advantage, but Shevchenko is a southpaw, so that makes it a little bit more interesting when you're facing off against each other as far as, maybe lowering the output of Lee. Now, her striking stats are impressive. Her grappling stats are not as impressive. I don't really get interested in betting on this specific fight. Shevchenko minus 129, Andrea Lee plus 105.
I don't know. I see value. Andrea Lee by decision plus 185. It's a play for me. Yeah, I just don't. And again, I was right on Shevchenko in her last couple fights. I picked Chikagian. I picked her over Lipsky. I think it's because if Lee loses this fight, mind you, she's probably cut. Like you can't. I mean, maybe she gets another fight because she's popular and they like her. I don't really know, but she's gonna be at home, right? She's from Texas. The fight's in Texas. Gonna go to decision. I'm taking her.
All right, so I guess here we are on opposite sides because I was actually going to go ahead and play Shevchenko. I just think as far as who might land the more impactful strikes, I see that being Shevchenko.
How many times have we seen that time and time again? And by the way, Shevchenko's power, really there is none. So if she's landing more impactful, what is slightly more impactful when Lee could be outlanding her 2-1?
Right, but I think both of them generally outland their opponents at about 2-1 based on their statistics, but Shevchenko does it. Right, Shevchenko does it with a higher accuracy, and Andrea Lee makes up for it with a much higher defense rate. Definitely a type of deal with the level of competition, but the striking stats are also boosted by all the leg kicks that Andrea Lee throws. Shout out to Numbers MMA. So to me, I think Shevchenko, she showed enough of an upgrade in her grappling that I feel comfortable that this should take place on the feet.
Where? When? Against Lipsky?
Yeah, I thought she showed enough of it to be able to dominate a fight that ultimately she should. I don't think that Lee's going to be able to come in and just purely dominate her, and I just don't feel comfortable.
I don't think it's going to be nobody said dominate, bro. Yeah. Nobody said dominate. I think this is going to be close, possibly another split decision. But I think that Andrea Lee, Because again, I don't think Shevchenko is going to land more impactful shots because she doesn't have power like that. And if the fight has any chance to go to the ground at all, which fights do, Lee has a significant advantage there. Like, because Shevchenko's shown nothing unless she's on top, which she hasn't shown any ability to get takedowns, where Andrea Lee has. So that's a huge problem, especially when Lee actually has a decent takedown defense. So when like that shit comes up, it's like it gets really hard. And for me, it's like I had a dog price Andrea Lee because like it probably should be even money, like a lot of these fights are, but it's not. She's a slight underdog, and I think it's mistaken.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the shot here. The way that you said
Because shit,
it,
I don't feel confident about much, and I'm not even showing that this is my most confident play or anything. But I don't know. I don't know. I think I see. I've heard some other people say this stuff too, but I think I see a mismatch.
yes, I think it's possible, like you said, a sketchy split decision, and that just turns me off to wanting to put any money on it.
100%. So if anything, I'd rather be like, oh, I told you so, and like, but didn't actually bet any money because it's going to be too sketchy. So hopefully I stay away.
Yeah, I talk about sketchy matchups. We go on to our next one here. Jordan Wright, Beverly Hills Ninja versus Jamie Pickett. And yeah,
Talk about stay away. Jeez Louise.
yeah, and it's interesting because the same way that I'm saying to stay away from the last fight, I feel like I need to be betting Pickett here. And
Oh God,
and
no.
not a lot of money, not anything crazy, but it's just like one of those things where you just get the
I don't like
feeling.
Pickett here. I don't know. I don't. I mean, I get it because like after you lose your debut, or not your debut, your yeah, after you lose your debut, you no, I don't know. Cut all that. What were you saying? I'm fucking crazy.
Yeah, so the reason Pickett stands out to me, I think he's got an edge in the grappling department. Should he take this fight down? I also think that Pickett, with his 3-inch reach advantage and 4-inch leg reach advantage, he should be able to use a little bit of his distance management to make something happen. He was decently outsized as far as bulk goes against Nchukwi. And I know that you want to say,
Yeah, Tafon really upset me last. I couldn't even believe I placed a single bet on that man.
yeah,
Listen, he is a freak athlete or whatever, but like that's about it, man. He is so raw and green. He has no idea what he's doing out there. More than me, but like I can't even believe
yeah,
that. So
but
when you see that and when you know that Jamie Pickett is low output, it's really tough because you need him to land the knockout blow, right? Because Jordan Wright has maybe the sketchy chin after he got knocked out by Buckley. But if he's not throwing, then he's not knocking anybody out. And Jordan Wright has never seen round 3. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just not a fight that I want to bet. I'm probably staying away until I know I'm staying away until weigh-ins, and I might not even bet it until then. The lines, Vegas says it's a coin flip, and I think it's a coin flip because who the fuck knows?
yeah, I just think Jordan Wright's record and background was extremely sketchy. We've seen Pickett face a couple guys that are respectable. Charles Bird, he's a guy that trains out of Fortis.
I mean,
We got
Joaquin
Punahele
Buckley's
Soriano
respectable.
training out of Extreme Couture. You have Jonathan Patti, also a guy that got a Dana White's Contender Series invite. And Tafon Nchukwi, I know we could bash him and say we're upset about his performance. He faced Park. Park was a much more experienced opponent than we give him credit for. And yeah, it's simple to look worse when I told you at the weigh-ins that Nchukwi and Park actually looked a lot closer in size than I was expecting. And when you saw Pickett versus Nchukwi, you saw a really big size, disadvantage for Pickett. I don't think that's necessarily the case here against Wright, and I think he's going to be able to use his grappling.
I don't know. Up until Wright got rocked, did he even look? Did he look that bad versus Buckley? I don't think so.
I just
So
I don't trust his ground game. I don't, and I don't trust his chin, and I don't trust his experience. I think he's very good as the guy that's winning, and as we say, being the hammer. I
right.
don't, you watch Fluffy Hernandez walk across the cage. This guy has a no contest on his record. That's him getting flattened in the first 30 seconds of a fight against Fluffy Hernandez on the feet. I mean, that sticks in your memory, And then
Well, listen,
Villanueva,
Fluffy was on performance enhancing drugs, all right? He was taking the chronic.
right? You can't be
He
doing
was
that.
smoking that. He was smoking that good Chiba. He failed for a marijuana, so you know he was on a performance enhancing drug. So it's a good thing that that's a no
You're
contest.
right. You know what? It wouldn't have been fair to give him credit for that.
Of course. He probably took a fat dab right before he knocked him out.
Good for him, man. Pulling a Nick
Listen,
Diaz, right?
I don't know. I might for funsies circle Jordan Wright because I have such a bad taste in my mouth with Pickett. I might just not circle him out of spite. For the love of God, people, do not put your money on this fight. I mean, if your great great grandma just died and you didn't really like her and you just got a huge trust fund settlement and you got some money to blow, I mean, go nuts. But like, don't save your money.
Hey, just a little baby bet. And listen, if there was anything that I really wanted to, because I'm minus 118, definitely.
And I'm sorry to hear about your great great grandmother, by the way.
Jamie Pickett by decision plus 400. You want to talk about fading the narrative. We say Jordan Wright doesn't get out of blah, 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 blah. Pickett, I think you can use this wrestling. And if not that, Pickett by submission plus 1,200. You love me a good greasy submission prop. So a brown belt versus a blue belt. Oh, it could get interesting if he gets the takedown, So maybe join me on the degenerate side on this fight. I feel like I see a little something.
If you're sponsoring it, you know I'll join you anyway.
Always looking for something. But on to our next fight here. We got Groovy, Lando Venata versus Mike Grundy. So
Yeah, I think this is possibly, and I say this as as he gets knocked out in 10 seconds. I think this is one of the safer fights of the evening. I do expect Grundy to rinse and repeat, take him down, dominate over the course of 15.
Very interesting. I didn't. I actually did not expect you to say that about this fight, given kind of what we talked about a little earlier in the week. I find Venata's wrestling background to be a little bit underrated, and I think you might have.
How?
I think you have to hurt him on the feet to take him down.
I mean, you don't think that Grundy can hurt him at all? I mean, he knocked out Narimani, which was a tough fight. So I mean, he's not like you have to be a knockout artist, but when you look at Venata, he was taken down by Mark DeCasey and Bobby Green. Are those guys wrestlers or are they strikers?
Bobby Green is a wrestler, for sure.
Yeah, he's got somewhat of a okay. You're right. Okay.
No. But Lando Venata got wobbled and basically sat down in the first round, and from there on out, it was easy pickings for Green the rest of the fight.
And then what about
and JKC landed calf kick after calf kick after calf kick, and Venata just started basically falling down and just giving up and letting him take him down.
You don't think Grundy can punish him enough?
That's my thing. Is like I really was gonna bet Grundy heavy going in here, and I still listen. If you tell me that the submission prop here, because Grundy almost had. Oh my God, plus 600. Okay, Grundy by submission. That's what we're talking, right?
But like you're just going greasy for no reason now.
Well, I'm telling you that there's a way for Grundy to win, and it's by submission. But I don't trust him necessarily to grind out a decision.
I think it could be a sketchy 29-28 or something like that.
Yeah, but why pay for plus 200 or why pay for, Grundy minus 118 when you could get Grundy by sub at plus 600? Think about the two times that he has Movsar Evliev wrapped up, and Evliev has some of the sickest escapes. Ask Nick Lentz about it. Ask our boy Mike Grundy about it.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, he looked good against Evliev. It's hard to.
Well, he landed 20 strikes to the 79 of Evloev, but he landed 6
Well,
takedowns, and that is
yeah,
crazy. So if he does land the takedowns, what's he looking for? That front choke.
yeah.
That's my thought. So if I was going to bet this fight, which ultimately I was going to pull out on the money line idea of it,
Why not double chance? Why not go double chance? Mike Grundy submission or points plus 120. So, I don't hate that either because you're taking a favorite, minus 130, and you're converting it to plus money. But like, he could get a knockout, so I don't know that I love that. The money line is okay to me.
yeah. Listen, if you really feel great about the side, go for that. If you feel like
Or
you
you
want to
can
go
go
for
decision
a
plus
crazy
195.
prop with me at plus 600 for a submission, you got to find one of those fun submission props on the card.
I think that this is a very live spot for a submission, and I'm not sure. Venata may only be 29, but he just seems a lot older in fight years, and his cardio kind of seems to, fade as well. So, not somebody that I would feel comfortable backing at this point. He's got to show me something, and again, I think that Grundy showed some, like you said, showed some good stuff for Evliev.
Total agreement on that. So I'm going with Grundy as far as who my pick is for the fight. If you want to know what my play is for the fight, I'm going the plus 600 for submission. And it sounds like you are looking at the decision or possibly just going with the money line.
Yeah, or I'm definitely following you for some sort of sprinkle because if you're celebrating, we got to celebrate that together.
That's
But
right. Got to get that JMO pumping. Got to get that
woo!
chronic pumping.
Oh, easy,
All
easy.
right. So does that bring us to what is this? The featured
This
prelim?
feature prelim, it better be. They're dissing my boy here.
Yeah, well, I
Oh,
think they're taking a little bit of the pressure off because Jacare
I hope so.
Souza, oh man, I think we saw his soul leave his body as Kevin Holland was raining down Mortal Kombat type finishing blows on him in his last fight. Jacare
Yeah, it was
Souza
brutal.
coming in against Andre Muniz. This is going to be a very entertaining fight, if I had to say. Muniz is coming in with a bit of a reach advantage, 6 inches. He is the southpaw. Souza is the same height, so it is interesting he's giving up so much reach, but I do think what he gives up in reach, he makes up for in power, strength, and experience. And yeah, this could be a vet lesson.
It's hard to disagree with anything you said. I love Jacare. I kind of have a little bit of a bias. He's one of my all-time favorites. The way he finished Chris Weidman, just will always hold a place in my heart. Jacare should be still better everywhere. You would hope
He's never lost by submission, so I don't think he really has to worry about it in this fight.
that's the one thing that is wonderful is that Muniz's best chance is gonna be by submission, and you're not gonna submit Jacare. He's got no real knockout power. He's got one knockout on his record, literally just one. So that's pretty good for Jacare's sake. And in a decision, you'd have to think that the vet is gonna whatever it is, take him down, outstrike him, continue to control the fight and do what he can to win. You do wonder what Jacare is fighting for, right? Because it's certainly not, an what is that, the Alistair Overeem one more run. So that he's far from that. So he's just fighting for paychecks, headlining prelims, finishing out his contract, wants to get a win and retire. I'm not sure what his plan is. So I'm really, really interested to see how he looks. I'll be wearing my Jacare shirt if you run into me somewhere on Saturday. The bet is Jacare by KO or decision plus 170, or the straight up decision. Actually, I honestly I don't even. I like the decision straight up better. I think Jacare by decision plus 300. I don't know that he's going to knock out Muniz. Maybe I'm just would be a little too happy for that. Like just too much of a fan.
Well, what normally happens when you get two high-level grapplers, it plays out on the feet.
That's fair.
And Jacare, we saw him knock out plenty of people. He has 4 knockouts, 4 submissions, 1 decision. I don't think a submission happens in this fight unless someone gets hurt. So we look at the knockouts on Jacare Souza's record. He has Weidman, he has Brunson twice, and Okami with a round 1 knockout. But I'm sure he had plenty more back in his Strikeforce days. He does have, well, I guess 1 more. He has 17 submissions, 5 knockouts in his career, 4 decisions. But that doesn't mean that Jacare doesn't have the power. And with guys that it's not so appealing to grapple with as the first chance, I mean, listening to Jacare at his press conference, he sounded locked in. He sounded like he wanted to stop this young lion, specifically is how he mentioned it, from coming up. And he said, man, I'm going to kill this guy. Like, he wants to come out there and prove something because he got embarrassed. I mean, Muniz is not going to be talking about what he dreamt about last night and distracting Jacare and landing a knockout off his back. Like that was just, Kevin Holland found the guy that actually, got distracted by the talking. It didn't necessarily work against Brunson and Vettori. But Souza, it looked like he was trying to talk back and got a little lost in his eyes.
Yeah, I don't think he had any idea what was going on in that Kevin Holland fight. But I mean, to his credit, like, other than getting knocked out and maybe he was confused, like, he was on his way to doing what you're supposed to do, right? Taking Kevin Holland down, putting him on his back. Problem is that do you feel like Jacare looked tired after doing that? Do you worry about his cardio?
I'm not so sure that he was tired as much as like getting a little bit frustrated with the long limbs of Holland. And it seemed like, and that could be something that Muniz could kind of bring as trouble, but you can't be standing and trading with Holland. I don't think that that's as much of a concern with Muniz, who has 4 knockout losses. Those are his 4 losses are by knockout. And that
is that true? It's a 6-inch reach advantage for Muniz.
That's how I let it off.
I did. Yeah, I missed that. That's a big deal. And now that the line flipped, like, right, I love Jacare at plus money, but now the line it was even money, and now the line is flipped completely. So now Muniz plus money. That's not cool.
Yeah.
I like I said, I want to see weigh-ins. I want to see how Jacare looks. If he looks, old man style, I'm, maybe I'm off.
Yeah.
But if he looks ripped and ready to rock, should still be on Jacare.
Yeah, my thought is this isn't Bartosz Fabinski. This isn't Antonio Arujo. I think because we've seen these guys make these steps up and not really have it.
Right, but the problem is that at Jacare at 41 is he still a step up, and I'm just hoping that that's still the case. He just hasn't shown much in a long time. Well, this is a chance to show that he still has something left.
He did go 0-5 on takedowns on, what is that, the champion at light heavyweight, Jan Blachowicz, but he had 8.5 minutes.
That's like a year and a half ago, and when you're 41, that's like a big deal.
No, sure, but we're talking about, someone who, like you said, is going to come in crazy shape here, motivated off of 3 straight losses. This is one of those opportunities, I think, where I feel a little more comfortable with a guy like Jacare that comes in seeming nice and.
Well, didn't we both take Jacare over Holland at the time as well? Because I know I did.
Oh, damn straight. But listen, Jacare landed 2 takedowns and had 1.5 minutes of control in the first round. Yeah, that shows he could still do it to me. So let's move right along to our next fight,
which is the starting of our main card.
And, oh, man, did they pick a fight to start off the main card. This is going to be probably the fight of the night, almost definitely.
I was about to say, it could be my nomination for fight of the night, but we got a couple other good ones.
This could be a performance of the night, potentially.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So Shane Burgos versus Edson Barbosa to kick us off on the main card. Burgos coming in 6-2 in the UFC, 13-2 overall. Barbosa 21-9, 15-9 in the UFC. Both of these guys have a lot of experience, most of it coming at the UFC level. growing up, showing that their skills have been diversified. You have Burgos winning 5 knockouts, 5 submissions, 3 decisions. Barbosa in the UFC has won 6 knockouts, 8 decisions. He even snuck a little submission in there, but yeah, that was just a little guy. You shouldn't worry about that.
Barbosa made his UFC debut at UFC 123, Rampage versus Machida, November of 2010. That's so crazy. I mean, he's just fought everybody. His career is just incredible. When you look at the run of the last, just of everybody he's fought, it's just it's just incredible amount of people.
Yeah, I find it really interesting. You have Barbosa down at his new weight class. He looked pretty good making the weight cut. He dealt with a couple tough matchups. Dan Ige, losing also.
A split decision, which is tough, and the Paul Felder split decision, which was really tough. I know that was up a weight class still. He looked great against Amir Khani. I picked him there. I know a lot of people were on Amir Khani for some reason.
Yeah,
Burgos, man, I think it comes down to, is Burgos going to be too shy from his getting punished last fight? I think the answer will hopefully be no. At least that's what I'm leaning towards. And I would hope that Shane Burgos follows the plan necessary, or the one laid out, to beat Barbosa, which is, if you can't take him down Khabib style, you have to continue to pressure him, right? And keep him from throwing his kicks. And if you're going to be the one to pressure Barbosa, then you better have a high output. And we know that Burgos is that guy. He's a high pressure fighter. So while he is sometimes a little bit too much to be hit, I think his forward pressure is going to stymie Barbosa a little bit and can keep him from really teeing up the shots that he wants to tee up. I liked how Burgos sounded in his interviews. This is the fight he's been dying for. He knows that this is a huge opportunity. He was upset that the last fight against Josh Emmett was not in front of a crowd. So he's really happy that this fight is in front of a crowd. I think he's going to give the fans a show. And yeah, I like him to win by decision.
Yeah, Burgos is so exciting, but what keeps me from running to bet him is the fact that he has this incredible chin, but he refuses to protect it and instead deflects punches with his chin, which is to say he gets hit a fuck
He
ton.
does eat a lot of face punches.
It's not attractive watching him fight against guys that know how to strike and counter. I'm not sure that Barbosa is necessarily that guy, but I do think that he can hurt you at any moment, and for that risk, I'm not going to be playing this fight because ideally you're taking Burgos here. You got doubling up the output. You got higher accuracy and the same level of defense. And you can't even really say level of competition argument, because at this point, I think Burgos has faced, some of the bigger names out there. Cub Swanson, Emmett, Cater. He has suffered a couple tough losses, but maybe this is the one where he can finally turn the corner and get a big win against a big name.
Yeah, so if you have PointsBet, there's a request to bet feature, and I requested a bet specifically. I posted it on Twitter earlier. Shane Burgos and over 1.5. They gave that to me at plus 100. I'm going to play it. And I like it. I don't think I'm going to play it super heavy or anything, because like TB is touching on perfectly, it can be a sketchy fight. And Barbosa could give him a vet lesson. I think that Burgos is going to implement his game plan better. And, I think it'll be more Amir Khani level fighters for Barbosa here on out. Because I think that Burgos is a fair step up from Amir Khani.
Yes, I definitely think that we're going to see much more danger on the feet, and I don't think this fight's going to the mat. However, Barbosa does have a little bit of a background that he could try to lean on if he doesn't feel as comfortable on the feet. He did start with Ricardo Almeida, BJJ in Jersey, and he did end up moving down to American Top Team. So if you don't think that they didn't try to add a little bit more offensive grappling, he does have his brown belt. Um, he did have a couple submission attempts on Amir Khani, but yeah, ultimately it's best to just not bet this fight if you don't feel great on either side. And I don't. But the Burgos and over, I do think that if there was the most likely thing to happen and they're giving you at plus 100, I don't blame you for taking that. Great.
Yeah, I'm definitely be circling Burgos again, barring weight cut things, and as long as everything looks good, I should maybe be placing a little something.
Very nice. So we have another crossroads fight here.
Very small.
We got Caitlyn Shevchenko versus Viviana Arujo, and man, this could really be a changing of the guard as far as the top contenders go at 125, or this could be, the gatekeeper, making sure that no new contenders can go up and face the champion. Shevchenko 8-4 in the UFC. All 8 of her wins have come by decision. So I don't see a finish happening on her end. And her by decision is minus 106. So that's definitely baked into the line, because if you think Shevchenko wins this fight 50% of the time, then hell yeah, it's 50% that you're getting on the betting line. So that makes sense to me as far as that goes. However, Arujo, a lower level of competition that she's faced, but both of these women have losses to Jessica Ai. And I thought it was interesting to watch those fights. And Jessica Ai missed a weight by a lot in the Arujo fight. So you have Jessica Ai coming in 6 pounds overweight, I guess technically 5 with the 1 pound allowance at 131, and Arujo at 126. So yeah, the grappling attack didn't really work as it should have. And Arujo, not someone that's had a lot of control time in her career for all of her takedown offense, but her takedown defense is great. So I don't think that Shevchenko can go the route where she dominated Antonina Shevchenko like we spoke of.
I don't know. I feel like that fight. I feel like her takedown defense could be a little bloated from the Roxanne fight, where she stuffed all 5 of Roxanne's takedowns, which we know Roxanne's a good takedown artist, but I there's just something that sketches me out about that, knowing that Roxanne was taking a lot of fights, and then right after that fight, she had knee surgery. I don't think that Roxanne was super healthy with going into that fight. And she got rocked like 30 seconds in and just decided to survive the next 15 minutes.
All right, so Montana De La Rosa fight, she stuffs 5 of 6 takedowns.
5 of 6? That's pretty good, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only takedown that she's given up in her UFC career. And she faced Alexis Davis, where she gave up 0-4. So, I think
Arujo... But let's be honest. All right, but let's be honest. Is Caitlyn Shevchenko going to look for a takedown?
No. So my ultimate point was this fight plays out on the feet unless Arujo goes for the takedown.
Right, and I think that Shevchenko, while her takedown defense isn't as high, I think she should be able to keep it standing if Arujo were to shoot.
2.33 takedowns and at 64%, that's pretty high level for Arujo.
That is actually a surprising number.
And it's not, once again, I mean, she took down Alexis Davis 2 times. She took down Talita Bernardo 3 times. She took down Jessica Ai 2 times. She took down Roxanne 4 times. She had a submission attempt in that fight even. And so Arujo, she has a legitimate black belt as far as I'm concerned. And Caitlyn Shevchenko, brown belt. Now, however, the other interesting thing is that Arujo has a Luta Livre brown belt. So that's a little bit more of the wrestling and the takedown background. And for Shevchenko, she's using that karate background with the footwork and defensive movement. So that 30-foot octagon is definitely going to be helpful in that regard.
Definitely. Interesting enough, Shevchenko also has a win over Alexis Davis.
So they both lost to Jessica Ai. They both beat Alexis Davis. Did they both beat Roxy?
No.
But
She hasn't fought. Chikagian hasn't fought Roxy. That's funny though. I don't know. You kind of were almost talking me into Arujo, but I'm really worried about the overall length of Chikagian, how long she is, and how many strikes she throws. I think the one of the problems for her versus Jessica I, other than the grappling attack not working, was that Jessica I was like, throwing a lot of different attacks at her and kind of kept her thinking. And I think that could be a similar problem for her with Chikagian, who's going to throw a lot of strikes. And yeah, I think it could be a problem. And not to mention, like again, this fight's going to be in Texas, and we've had problems with Texas judges before. And you could see a suspect decision because we know that Chikagian is kind of somebody that, well, we know goes to decision, but with all of her output, tends to kind of maybe sway judges that aren't paying as close of attention with all the output.
Yeah, I guess the other thing about Arujo is her gas tank isn't necessarily ideal. She definitely takes time off at points. And yeah, Chikagian, like you said, she's going to make those noises. She's going to throw a bunch of volume. And, Arujo is going to come out with similar footwork early, but I don't know that she can necessarily maintain it. And I don't know that she can necessarily rely on the takedowns. But yeah, I guess I'm tempted to play a plus money line on Arujo here, but I probably should just stay away from that.
Yeah, I'm hoping to stay away as well. But I think I once again might be different from you. I think I might be circling Chikagian. And if I had to pick something, I guess I would play Chikagian by decision plus 100.
All right.
Three more fights, man.
Yeah, so we move right along. We have a late edition, up a weight class for both guys. Matt Schnell versus Rogerio Bontorin. Should be one hell of an exciting fight for however long it lasts. This one, Schnell 15-5, Bontorin 16-3. So it's not like we're talking about guys that don't have a lot of experience. Schnell 5-3 in the UFC, Bontorin 2-2 in the UFC. We've seen both of them get finished. We've seen both of them win by decision. We've seen both of them win by finish. So there's plenty up in the air here. Schnell does have a karate black belt. He has a jiu-jitsu purple belt, but I do think his scrambling ability and overall grappling is underrated as far as the ranking goes. I mean, you were telling me that you were watching Pantoja versus Schnell, and Pantoja, gets guard pulled on him by Schnell, which is very interesting given Pantoja's level as a grappler. And then Pantoja is the one that lets him up.
Yeah, well, he kind of hurts him with. Well, he was kind of hurting him on the feet, so he told him to come back.
Oh, all right. Well,
more because like he was more of like he was gonna get the takedown, so he kind of went with it and pulled guard.
All right, but I think it just shows Schnell's level of comfort.
Shell does as his bread and butter. I think is more of his boxing,
Yes,
which he does still have a like what you're saying though an underrated jujitsu game, which is exactly what you're saying. So I agree in that respect. So I don't think that Bontorin will have that spade in his back pocket to rely on like he did or like he tried to against Kai Kara France.
and how about that gas tank?
Suspect is fun.
I mean, that's why he got knocked out.
He watched him completely gas against Kai Kara France after 4 minutes or so, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah,
he got knocked the F out, folded up like a damn lawn chair, trying to talk about how he didn't get knocked out. Man, you folded up your origami.
Face plant.
It was crazy.
So Bontorin has like some level of stand up as far as like those high level grapplers that aren't afraid of being taken down. They're very aggressive and they can swing, and he's definitely comfortable in that aspect. but I don't think he's a high enough level guy to close the 3 inch reach, gap and the 3 inch height gap to really cover the distance against a karate black belt. Who does have some pretty decent movement, and the boxing has been improving defensively as long as mentally Schnell tries to stay within himself. The times where he's really come out and gotten into brawls, oh man, this guy's gotten knocked out in the first round. And Jonathan Martinez, one of Schnell's wins was a DQ where Martinez threw an illegal knee and knocked him out. So that part's concerning, but I think Bontarin's path to victory is his high level of grappling. But I think Schnell can negate a lot of that, especially in a larger cage and especially with the
Yeah,
gas
I
tank.
agree.
So I'll be playing Schnell straight up. That's
I
a play.
agree, and I think it's interesting that they're both up a weight class. I think it helps both of them, but I think more than anything, I think it might help Schnell more. Schnell's like so ripped, so to let him fill out a little bit.
Yeah, he's had weight cut issues in the past, right?
Yeah. So I think that this will be a big help for him here. So if only there were other parlay pieces to parlay him to, because I think Schnell might be parlayable.
It's possible, but
There's
listen,
just
I
nothing
mean,
else. I really am not sure that there's anything else parlayable on the card. I think the card is so close. I think it's crazy. I mean, what did we see last week? Was it 5 of 9 or 6 of 9 fights were fucking underdog winners? Like it was nuts. So I think this card is ripe for some more underdog winners, and it's it's a tough card to bet. That you see that with the lines being super close in literally all the fights. But I do like Schnell. It's his second fight with Fortis. So he was slated to fight Alex Perez as well. So, he was getting ready for, a huge step up in competition here and gets maybe a little bit lower one in Bontarine with an advantageous weight thing. And like we've said with the camps, maybe extra time at the camp continues to get that chemistry working.
yeah, even up a weight class, Schnell, given his issues in the past and on short notice, I really want to make sure that he comes in and looks okay on the scale because that's been an
I
issue.
agree.
So hold off until you see that. But Schnell for me is probably right along with Jacare going to be my biggest
Honestly,
choice.
this card is so exciting. This is not one of, there's just not as many spots to bet. This is not my favorite card to gamble on.
Mm,
Like I've had some cards that I thought were possibly really boring that were really the best spots for gambling, like multiple spots through and through. I'm not sure that this card is like stacked with amazing spots
right. Well, you want to talk about an exciting fight? Let's get
and
to
a tough spot to
yeah,
bet.
co-main event. Tony Ferguson versus Benil Daryush. This one should be a fucking banger. I was just watching the press conference before we hopped on, and the back and forth between these guys.
Tony's insane.
Given that Tony kind of comes out there talking crazy.
He's out of his mind. He's so
Yeah,
funny.
but you know what? It was a level of aggression that
I
yes,
like to see.
yes,
I was saying it to my other buddy. If Tony comes out half as sharp in the cage as he was at the press conference, out of the cage, Daryush could have a tough night.
yeah. I mean Daryush, we've seen him get wobbled by close. That
We've seen him gas
gas
out.
out against
We've seen
Diego
him have.
Ferreira in
We've
his
seen him
last fight.
abandon the smart game plan. We've seen him do that shit.
Yeah, it can get really interesting. I mean, Daryush got wobbled a little in the first round against Fajeda. There's a reason that fight was a split decision. Not that I necessarily thought he lost, but there's a reason why the fight did seem close to the judges. Daryush,
And
he's
and
got the wrestling and he's got the striking, but this is a step up.
and listen, and let's be and Fajeda was a nice win, even though we just saw him get beat by Gillespie and another impressive win for Gillespie. Not to take anything away from him, but you know, uh, Tony Ferguson's losses to Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje are not exactly the same as like wins against Drakkar Klose and Frank Camacho. It's just it's tough. It's really, really tough. I think it could be one of the best fights. This could be a fight of the year candidate. I'm so excited for this. Um I'm really hoping to see Tony Ferguson come out and exact some of that old El Kukui. I am worried that it's gone though.
Yeah, it's really tough to bank on it, especially with the big bet. Especially, Daryush minus 165, Ferguson plus 135. And really, I really like Daryush as a fighter. I think he's great. I think he
I
deserves
really
to
like
step up.
Daryush as a person.
Yeah, he's a great person. He really seems well put together. He's got a little one on the way. He seems like excited. And man, this is just a really tough matchup if Ferguson shows up El Kukui style. And that's so hard to tell. The press conference was a good start. And we'll see how he looks. He seems so frail against Oliveira.
He's always so thin.
But just the way he got controlled and wrestled and grappled, he seems so
He got
frail.
picked up. He got picked up and
Yeah.
slammed by Charles
Like,
Oliveira. Who does that?
Daryush is
Tony Ferguson.
strong. Daryush is everything.
Yeah, he could do that to him. You're right. I didn't even think of that.
But Ferguson is an inch taller and 4 inches more of reach. Oliveira had a lot more to offer as far as size goes.
That's true too.
So this
and I would say an athleticism.
Yeah.
I would say Charles Oliveira is more athletic than Benil Daryush.
Yeah, but Benil could be a grinder. He could do the 15 minutes of control.
Oh, he definitely can. I don't want to take anything away from him, but he comes in with a little bit of like love handles. He's got a weird shaped body, Daryush.
And that's fine, and he's a really solid, like all around fighter, and
100%. He's a world class wrestler.
Definitely.
So
it gives me pause on betting this fight, but if you had to ask me and you really want to take something, I've seen Daryush gas out late, and Tony Ferguson, he's always live to do a little something if you can't put him away. I mean, he's always trying to do stuff. And you're talking about a round 3? That's not outside the realm
Tony
of
Ferguson round 3 or decision plus 260.
Yeah, but even if you just want to say round 3.
Just round 3.
Tony Ferguson round 3 is plus 1,500. If there was one fight that I could see it happening, the gas out, the late, I see it time and time again with Daryush whenever he grapples in extended periods. By the third round, it could get a little sketchy. And if Ferguson has that same cardio that he could always bank on, I mean, plus 1,500 could seem real interesting if we can open a cut, throw some elbow.
I think it goes the distance.
It probably does.
I like if I have to play this, I like minus 134 fights goes the distance. I don't have to pick a side.
Ooh.
So I just get to watch a really exciting fight. You see Tony Ferguson survive Charles Oliveira somehow like snapping his arm in half, but he's fine apparently. And then you saw I'm fine. And then you saw the Diego Ferreira fight where where if nobody's going to literally kill you, like where they're not, because you have to kill Daryush and you have to kill Tony Ferguson. You know what I mean? Like the doctor stopped it for Gaethje. So you have to kill them. So in 15 minutes, I don't know that either one of them kills each other. So I think I like it to go the distance.
That's extremely fair. And all I got to say is if you're picking a side, for me, it's dog or pass. But if you're looking at props, I don't think you can go wrong.
When you see tomorrow that I literally like don't have my post up until like 7, like when the fights start, it's because I've spent the entirety of the day with all my fights circled except for this one, because I'm gonna be kicking myself left and right, back and forth, not picking. I guess I lean Daryush at the moment, but we'll see. Like with my luck, Daryush will miss weight by 1.5 pounds. I don't even know. I'm so excited for these fights. I cannot wait. This fight, I can't even believe is happening. Tony Ferguson fight day is should be a national holiday.
Well, let's do it. Let's get down to what the people are paying for. Actually, the people are probably paying for Daryush and Ferguson.
And if you're paying for ESPN Plus, you're paying for the prelims and stuff too.
That's true. But hey,
But what the people came to see.
That's right, the belt.
The gold changing hands. Khabib's belt.
Yes, on display, up for grabs. We got Charles Oliveira versus
Not just on display. It's up for
Michael
grabs.
Chandler. This is going to be a hell of a fight for however long it lasts, whether it's 15 seconds, hey, hell, even 10 seconds, or whether it's, I mean, I don't think it's going 25, but however long you think it's going.
Imagine it goes 25.
Damn, man.
All right, let me start that off. If it goes 25, who's the winner? That's so crazy, right? I got no clue.
Yeah, I mean, damn, dude. I would say Chandler because he's been there before.
When was the last time Chandler went 5?
Well, he has gone 5. That's kind of
He went 5 with Brett Primus in 2018.
2 years ago.
5
So, I mean, how long has it been since Oliveira, if ever, has gone 5?
Never. He's never gone
To win
5.
by decision, either guy. I mean, it's plus 550 or Oliveira.
It's not
and plus
going
500 for Chandler.
All right, let's break down this
Yeah.
fight. I was just being
All right, so we got 2 guys that are just absolutely known for being finishers in 2 completely different ways. But at surface level, I think you need to respect their secondary skills as well. Oliveira does have 19 submissions on his record, 14 of those in the UFC, which is so impressive, just how long he's been grinding away in the UFC. But he does have 2 knockouts in the UFC and 8 overall. Chandler, 10 knockouts in his career, but he's well-rounded. He has 7 submissions and 5 decisions. Someone that's really seen a lot of different ways for his fights to end in victory. However, you look at their losses. Oliveira, 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, 1 decision. And Chandler, 4 knockouts and 2 decisions. So it's crazy interesting to me that the highest of level, 4th degree, 3rd degree jiu-jitsu black belt now, Charles Oliveira, training since 12 years old. He's the guy that has the 3 submission losses on his record, and Chandler doesn't have any.
Listen, it's tough when you look at who he's fought, man. These guys are not savage grapplers, and when you spend a lot of time on the floor, you're going to get submitted. So, getting submitted by Ricardo Lamas and Anthony Pettis in 2016, I don't know if those things are really worth knocking. My big thing with Charles Oliveira that I can't get out of my head, maybe it's me personally, but the way he buckles over versus Cub Swanson and his shoulder injury versus Max Holloway, those 2 things stand out in my head so much. He was the guy that kind of always got into that big spot and fizzled, got knocked out by Cub Swanson in round 1. Every time he kind of made that step up, right? He got subbed by Anthony Pettis. He gets ground and pounded by Paul Felder. Every time he made that big step up, he couldn't do it. He couldn't break through that threshold until now he did. Until he beat Kevin Lee. Until he beat Tony Ferguson. With this new camp, with the new striking improvements, I should say. He's been at the same camp with Shudo Box, Brazil. With the new striking improvements, he's at 31 years old. I think he's put it all together. I think he's in his prime. And with the length and height advantage, the reach and height advantage, it's really hard not to take him. I've found myself on Chandler to start the week. I can't believe I found myself on Oliveira to end it. I'm still way independent. I really like Oliveira. We know how, I know it's a terrible narrative. But we know how we feel like when the UFC is pushing somebody and they're pushing him so hard. And I just think that Oliveira is the favorite sleeper. He's I don't know that anybody's on him. Who is on him? Everybody tweeted. Everybody tweeting. Everybody I see is on Chandler.
Yeah, see, to me, I actually saw a lot. I felt like the majority of people want and are picking Oliveira.
That made me want to bring up something super interesting. Tapology at this point in time
has 2,081 current submissions for the prediction of Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler at the time that we are recording right now. It is exactly divided 50-50. So if you're logging on, if you have a Tapology account and logging on to submit your picks, you're probably, one of the top premier people that watch UFC often. I mean, not always going to be the case, but you do this often, that you're an avid fan. So for them to be split so evenly is just so incredible to me.
Yeah, and it only makes sense that we're split on it, huh?
Yeah, we've been split all night, which is so rare for us.
So to me, I always go back to a couple things. Looking at the highest level of wrestlers and the highest level of grapplers, generally the wrestlers come out on top. And when a height and reach advantage and disadvantage are talked about, the guys that bring more power and more brute strength to the table, which I think is something that Chandler brings, that seems to be an advantage when you're a couple inches shorter. The hips are right there. It seems to be an advantage when you're thrown to the body and you're hurting them. And again, I think as far as aggression and people that I've seen with a consistent game plan when they get in the cage, I think Chandler is going to be the one on the front foot. I think Chandler is going to be the one dictating the striking pace. And I think Chandler is not going to have to worry about getting taken down or the grappling exchanges.
Here's my question. For how long? Because the Chandler that we know doesn't go very long. His last four fights have all ended in the first round. The fourth of which ended by him getting knocked out in 4 minutes, by the way, by the current double champ, Patricio Pitbull.
Yeah.
So the problem with Chandler, how long can he go? I really don't. He's shown that throughout his career that he doesn't have like the Kamaru Usman 4th and 5th round, turn on the jets type, Max Holloway put out more output than you ever had in either of the rounds before it type. He's not that guy. And I'm not sure that Oliveira is yet either, but at 31 and went the distance with Tony Ferguson and went 3 rounds with Kevin Lee. I think Kevin Lee is other than the biggest he's one of the most disappointing fighters because he's the mental game is lacking, isn't there. But I feel like Kevin Lee and Michael Chandler's style are so similar. Short, stocky, muscle type, explosive power, huge, incredible wrestling background. I think Chandler's much stronger mentally, but with the age, let's call it a wash. I think it's Oliveira's time, unless he comes out and just gets flattened in one round.
Yeah, I see Chandler most likely having an early
round 2. If it goes to round 2 and you're holding a Chandler ticket, I'd be nervous if I were you.
No, I mean, listen, I feel comfortable any of the first 3 rounds that Chandler can set his pace.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
What, just because knockouts have happened the last 4 times?
He doesn't get these late round knockouts.
That has 5 decisions and 2 decision losses his career. He doesn't. That you're saying that he can't go the distance. Like, I don't know where we get that from. He's gone the distance more times than Oliveira, almost double.
I'm not saying that he can't go the distance. I'm saying he hasn't looked as good. And the fighters that he'd gone the distance with and beat, Brett Primus, Godi Yamaguchi, old Benson Henderson in 2016 for a split decision. This is not the way.
I mean, listen, dude. Listen. 2018, Clay Guida, Christos Yagos, Jim Miller, David Tamer, Nick Lance, Gordon, Kevin Lee, winning the first 2 rounds and diving in on a takedown haphazardly and giving up his neck and getting choked out, and then Tony Ferguson's corpse last fight. So what the fuck are we talking about? Level of competition? Yeah. Like, where's the level of competition Oliveira fought either, bro? Like that's my thought. So honestly, I'm on Chandler here. Listen, who do I like better? Charles Oliveira. Who do I want to see win? Charles Oliveira. Michael Chandler plus 110, plus money on Michael Chandler. Give me that fucking money, man. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's where I really started to, until I just feel like that I always chase that dog money when it's like the deciding factor, and I feel like when it's the deciding factor, I feel like I don't come away with a win.
Yeah,
So,
I completely respect that.
So that's what I'm
Completely
saying. Like I'm
respect
kind
that.
of fighting the feeling in my gut that I had all week that Michael Chandler is just like this is his destiny to be the first one to have a Bellator championship and a UFC championship, or is it the second? I think it's the first. I think he'd be the first. So, yeah, I really, like I said, I was on Chandler coming into the week. I liked him at the dog price. I don't hate anybody for taking a stab. I don't even know what my prop would be on Oliveira. That's what I was, continuing to scramble for and look for. I don't even know what the play is. Charles Oliveira around 1, 2, and 3 plus 145. Double chance. I don't even. How can you even narrow your odds? I guess you could do just by finish. Charles Oliveira, KO or submission plus 105. Yeah, it's so crazy. So there's definitely more value on Chandler. So I don't hate anybody taking a play there.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you'd have to be a psycho to do Chandler submission plus 1400. I mean, if you're betting Chandler, you're not doing decision plus 500. You're not doing submission.
So
You're doing either knockout at plus 210. You're doing first round knockout, which I don't necessarily think happens, but I wouldn't be surprised by anything this fight. I wouldn't be surprised by an Oliveira round 1 knockout in this fight.
I want to see the weight cut. Oliveira's had weight cut issues.
Amen. I mean,
and Chandler's a big boy.
Oliveira, I mean, when he pulls off those sunglasses at that initial face-off today, I mean, he is sucked out.
He always
I know,
is.
but like with a big hitter like that, I mean, this is a big hitter. This is a guy training at Sanford and really working on his technique, and we're really starting to see it pay off as far as his body head combos and
How
changing
about
level.
Chandler by knockout in round 2 plus 1100? That's crazy.
That's the type of value we're looking for. Sometimes things don't play out as quickly in a 5-round fight, but to play overs on anything else, I don't know. But round 2 plus 1100, if you're not feeling so comfortable but you want to take a little stab, there you go. If you're feeling like you want to take a slightly bigger stab but not go all the way, Chandler knockout plus 210. And if you're feeling like you want to join me all the way, we're going money line plus 110. But
yeah, super crazy fight. Something that I'm going to continue to do research on as we approach even closer to fight day. Yeah, I feel free to see me change my pick, but for the moment, Charles Oliveira is your new Brazilian lightweight champion.
Man, I can't wait to see it happen.
I can't wait. That fight's so incredible. I really cannot wait. I've said that like 8 times tonight, but
I know we were kind of disappointed that this is the fight that we're getting as the championship, but the more that we've looked
I'm
into,
not.
I mean,
People
initially, you're like, oh, Poirier should be getting the chance. Like, oh, what if they did it with
yeah, well,
McGregor? But like,
I didn't say that. That wasn't me.
I'm talking about the
Other
Gen
people.
Pop. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
Listen, initially,
until they found out that Poirier got offered the shot and he chose the money fight.
Exactly. And then you look further into the matchup, you see how exciting it could be. Man, I really am looking forward to it.
What I'm most interested in, which is probably a weird thing to say, I'm really interested to see where Gaethje falls into all of this equation. He's found himself the odd man out. And imagine if Ferguson wins and he throws himself back into the mix. What would happen? It'd be so crazy.
Definitely.
Maybe you give Gaethje the loser of this fight or something, and then you give, I don't even know.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, just to go over the plays one last time, I know we talked about a lot here, and if you made it this far, we want to leave you with something good. So for me, straight up plays, the ones I'm looking at as far as underdogs, we have Kevin Aguilar, In addition, as far as underdogs go, also going to be taking Michael Chandler in the main event. And as far as some favorites go, I got Matt Schnell straight up. And I'll also be taking Jacare, who is now a light favorite, straight up. And for a little greasy prop action over here, a little Mike Grundy submission could be interesting. And, we talked about Tony Ferguson round 3, plus 1,500 could also be interesting.
Yeah. So for me, Aguilar, money line, underdog, interesting kind of thought. Andrea Lee is my very, very interesting thought over Shevchenko. Going to take a stab on that one. Grundy by decision or submission, fine with me. Grundy should get it done. I like Jacare. Well, I love Jacare, but he makes me nervous. So I only like Jacare here. Burgos by decision, or one of my favorite, the points bet, request your own bet. Shane Burgos and over 1.5 plus 100. I really do like that bet. Guys and gals, if you made it this far for listening, really appreciate you. If you haven't already, please go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, like our videos, share them around, throw some comments down there. Let us see what you think at Chronic Combat Conversations. Follow us on Twitter at Chronic Combat. Follow our Instagram at Chronic Combat Conversations. Look for us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. It's a big place that we're at now. They send the podcast straight to your phone as long as you're subscribed. While you're listening, liking, and subscribing, throw us a 5-star rating. You can follow my awesome co-host, TB Scouting MMA, on Instagram, Twitter, Verdict, and Tapology. And you can find me, _MMA Guru, on Instagram, Twitter, Verdict, and Tapology. Thanks again so much for tuning in. You'll see us next week for UFC Vegas, hopefully Cody Garbrandt versus Rob Font.